Good shot. Oh my!
Here to celebrate Georgetown! The Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions!
The Trenton Golden Hawks, the RWC Cup champions, are going to Coburn.
Back to Minerva. Shot scores! And the Coburn Cougars are the Royal Bank Cup champions!
Evans bumping, they score! Frank Poche, the game winner, and the Buckland Cup winner!
Well, the conference finals kicked off last week. Oakville and North York hope to continue their march towards the Buckland Cup final, but their opposition made it clear right from the start they plan on spoiling those grand plans. This is the OJ Today. Welcome back, everybody. We'll show you all the postseason action in just a moment. Later in the program, Alex Bloomfield will join me via Skype as we review what went down in round 2 of the playoffs, as well as look at some key points to victory in the conference finals. That's coming up shortly. But first, OJ highlights. And if the Wellington Dukes have made one thing clear thus far in the postseason, it's that you can't take these guys lightly, even for a second. Now, in round 1, they dropped top-seeded Coburg. They then proceeded to storm back from a 3-1 series deficit against Whitby to once again advance. Now, they are the defending champions, and they don't intend to lose that title anytime soon. Up next in the conference final was powerhouse North York. OJ highlights now brought to you by Hilton Hotels. Hilton, the official hotel of the Ontario Junior Hockey League. North York had dispatched St. Mike's in 4 straight games in the South Final. The question was, would they be rusty after the layoff? Midway through the first, Wellington hits. Andrew Rinaldi just continues to dominate. Great rush. Beats Jet Alexander 1-0. All Rangers from that point on, though. Nick Lashuk turns on the Jets, pulls away, gets it past Logan Bateman, all tied up 1-1 after 20. Second frame, Rangers on the PP. Jonathan Hampton, the tip out front. In it goes. NYR leading 2-1 at that point. Final stanza, they put this baby to bed. Harrison Rees, the howitzer from the blue line, finds daylight. That gives the Rangers a bit of padding, and they would add an empty netter to seal the deal as North York reels off its 9th straight win. In the postseason, they take a 1-0 lead in the Southeast Final. The teams resumed pleasantries the following evening in Wellington, where once again it was Rinaldi getting the party started. He's the OJ's leading playoff scorer. Adds to his total here to make it 1-0 for Wellington. Good crowd on hand as well. Nearly 1,000 strong to cheer on the Dukes. The Rangers would knot it up 39 seconds later, though. Josh Redinger takes advantage of the traffic in front of Logan Bateman, rips it home, and it's 1-1. The Dukes would take the lead in the second off a controversial call. Brett Humberstone follows the puck, ends up in the net. Now, the Rangers were screaming that it shouldn't have counted, but if you take another look, it looks like the puck does cross the line right there just before Humberstone does. So, 2-1. Third period was wild. Brandon Yeamans, quick shot to elude Bateman right there, and power play marker. The Rangers tie it up once again. Back come the Dukes, though, and it's one of the goals of the postseason. Dylan Massey, dipsy doodle dandy, shelves it past Alexander. Wellington leads 3-2. Again, the Rangers would hit back, though. 33 seconds later, another quick shot that Bateman can't catch up to. Ashton Stocky bulges the twine. That set up the overtime dramatics.
Great chances in the overtime, but hasn't got enough wood on it. Back to the line again. Hanna, give and go. Here's a shot. They score! Ben Woodhouse, the overtime winner, and the Dukes have tied the series.
Yeah, I don't think Alexander saw much of this one. Tons of traffic out front, and the Dukes come up big once again when it matters most. They take it 4-3 to even the series up. Okay, the OJ's top-ranked regular season team, Oakville in Markham, to take on the North Division champion Royals, and the blue and white were showing no fear. Nick Davis on the doorstep. The backhander goes, and the Royals lead it 1-0. They would make it 2. The Blades getting sloppy in their own end here. Alessio Luciani, wrong guy to lose the puck to. Sweet moves past Will Barber, and Markham would take a 2-0 advantage into the dressing room at the break. Oakville wakes up in the second, though. Alton McDermott just signed to play with Division I Canisius College next fall. Shows you what the Golden Griffins are so excited about. Mad skills on this guy. He cuts the Oakville deficit in half. But the Royals would regain that 2-goal lead. Luciani on a 2-on-1 with Nick Janta, and Nick continues his strong play in the postseason. Rips it home. Markham leading 3-1. Dying seconds of the period, though, Oakville gets one back. Spencer Kirsten out of the corner, follows up the initial shot, puts it past Andrew Albano. That made it 3-2 Royals. Markham would go on to add an empty netter in the third, however. No question, Oakville is favored in this series, but the blue and whites open a few eyes by taking game one by a 4-2 count. News and notes brought to you by Jostens, official ring and award supplier to the OJHL. And big news, the Newmarket Hurricanes are moving. The club started out back in 1972 as the Flyers, made it as far as the Royal Bank Cup in 95-96, and they are on the move to Milton and will be known as the Milton Menace. Cool logo, actually. So their OJHL says goodbye to one team, hello to another. Sad day for Newmarket, where the Canes had fallen onto hard times the last few years with attendance issues. The Menace will fill the void at Thompson Arena in Milton, left behind by the Ice Sox, who departed for Brantford earlier this season. OJ Trivia brought to you by Cool Sports. Cool, the official apparel provider to the OJHL. And this week's question is, who won the 2018-19 OJ Most Improved Player Award? Who was it? Just named. First correct answer to R. Morocco at the OJHL.ca will win a cool prize pack. This segment of the OJ Today is brought to you by Cliff Bar. Cliff Bar, the official energy bar of the OJHL. Hey everybody, welcome back to the OJ Today. Well, the Markham Royals just pulled off one of the rarest feats in sports, trailing the Newmarket Hurricanes in the North Division Final 3-0. The Royals proceeded to win 4 straight contests to complete an absolutely epic comeback, which certainly served as a warning to the OJHL's top-ranked regular season team, the Oakville Blades, not to underestimate the blue and white. Markham further cemented that point by taking Game 1 of the Northwest Final. So the Blades were looking to bounce back in Game 2. You can only keep a great team down for so long. Oakville was a hungry bunch in Game 2, but it's actually the Royals that strike first. Second period, nice puck movement on the power play. Nick Janta, the quick snapper, past Barber. Royals lead 1-0. Last minute of the period, though, the Blades would respond on a power play of their own. Spencer Kirsten, Oakville's leading scorer during the regular season, continues to produce in the playoffs. Final frame, Oakville flexed its muscle. Kyle Potts on the doorstep, follows up the initial save here, and the Blades take their first lead of the series. Andrew Albano has been key to Markham's success in the postseason, but this is one he'd rather forget. Serves it up for Josh Nixon, and it's 3-1 Oakville. Brian Smith would give the Royals a bit of hope 7 minutes later as he pokes on the rebound in the crease there to make it 3-2 for Oakville, but the Blades would put this baby to bed. Kyle Potts threads it to Harrison Israel's out front. That made it 4-2 for Oakville. The Blades would add a late empty netter as well to make it a 5-2 final, as they would even up the series at 1 game apiece. Okay, the Dukes traveled back to North York for Game 3 in the Southeast Final. Late in the first, Brandon Yeamans gets the home side on the board, pokes it past Logan Bateman, and it was 1-0 Rangers after 20 minutes of play. Just 31 seconds into period 2, they would tally again, and somehow this ends up past Bateman. It's Tyler Flack getting credit for it. NYR cruising up 2-0, but the Dukes hit back. Brett Humberstone is allowed to just waltz right in here. Roof Daddy past Jet Alexander. That cuts their deficit in half. It's 2-1. Third period, Wellington threw everything at the Rangers, trying to get that equalizer, but Andrew Rinaldi denied by Jet Alexander. Midway through the third, Rinaldi with the gorgeous feed for Frank Vitucci, and Frankie V knots it up at 2 apiece. That set up overtime. Take it away, Jake Howarth.
9:02 left in the first overtime period. Stocky lost a draw. Wade fires it. Gonzalez, Luzo scores! Tyson Gilmore picks up the overtime winner just over a minute into the overtime frame. And for the second straight game, the Wellington Dukes take an overtime game and now lead the series 2-1.
What a finish. The Northwest final moved back to Oakville for game number 3, and this one was all Blades. Late in the first, Harrison Israels will put it past Albano to make it 1-0 for the home squad. Second stanza, Oakville on the PP here. Garrett Pike with the point shot that will find daylights, and the Blades were up 2-0 at that point. Now Markham pushed back. Sweet moves here by Ryan Rosborough, and the finish past Will Barber to cut it to 2-1. Oakville just took over though. Kyle Potts, 6'4", 220 pounds. How are you going to move him off the puck? Makes it 3-1 for the home squad. Then 40 seconds later, Holden Doggett to Tanner McEachern, top shelf, 4-1. The Blades, they lead. And then finally, mad scramble out front here. And eventually it's the captain, Peyton Reeves, finding the puck and shoveling it home. Oakville would cruise to the 7-2 win and take a 2-1 advantage in the best-of-7 series. Okay, the Southeast final returned to Wellington for Game 4. Over 1,000 screaming Dukes fans were waiting, and they loved what they saw. 8:16 in, Bed Woodhouse slides it past Alexander, and the home squad leading 1-0. 7 minutes later, Brett Humberstone fights to the front of the net, and the juice is worth the squeeze, as they say, as he gets it to go. 2-0 Dukes at the break. Second period, Tyson Gilmore.
Gilmore pulling it away at the last second from Tyler Flack, driving in the Rangers zone. Nifty move, what a goal! Tyson Gilmore, end to end and top shelf.
Tyson channeling Father Dougie on that one, no doubt. What a rush. North York would get one back, but then Zach Ewens rips it past Alexander to regain the 3-goal advantage for the Dukes. And then finally, Daniel Panetta sticks with it on the rush, follows up his own rebound, pokes it home as the Dukes run the Rangers out of the rink. They demolish North York in Game 4 by a 7-2 count. News and notes. Eric Ciccolini was impressive all year for the Junior Canadians, and he has been voted the OJ's top prospect. Eric's committed to the Michigan Wolverines and is ranked as the 95th skater in North America for the upcoming NHL draft. He put up 62 points in 48 games this season to lead the JRCs in scoring. Congrats, Eric. Nick Papadopoulos of the Whitby Fury dished out some pretty epic body checks this year, and apparently he was hitting the books as hard as he was opponents. The 18-year-old carried a 97% average at St. Mary's Catholic Secondary School in Pickering, and he's been named the OJ's Scholastic Player of the Year. OJ Commitments now brought to you by Warrior Hockey. Warrior, official partner of the OJ Game of the Week, as well as the OJ Today. And Alton McDermott of the Oakville Blades is continuing on the family tradition of hockey excellence. The forward put up 36 points this season for the Powerhouse Blades, and he is signed to play with Canisius College in Buffalo starting next fall. And I mentioned the family hockey lineage. Well, Alton's grandfather is none other than Mr. Canada himself, Paul Henderson. Alton wears number 19 in Grandpa's honor. Congratulations, Alton, on your commitment. This segment of the OJ Today is brought to you by Barnburner Hockey. Barnburner, official partner of the OJHL Game of the Week and the OJ Today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the OJ Today, and I'm happy to be joined for the first time since the playoffs started by Pickering Panthers broadcaster Alex Bloomfield, also my partner in crime on the CHCH Game of the Week broadcast. Alex, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back on again.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to catch up on. This segment, we're going to do a review of what went down in the second round of the playoffs. As you know, of course, some incredible comebacks there. And let's start in the Northwest, where the Markham Royals had the biggest one, and it's so rare to see, of course, in all of sports, a squad claw back from a 3-0 series deficit. That's exactly what they did in the North Division final against the Newmarket Hurricanes.
Yeah, a crazy series, wild all around. For Markham, I think everyone thought it was over after Game 3 for sure. We don't see these very often, but yeah, very strange in one sense. The Markham Royals, they when you look at the stats of this series, it's not like things dramatically changed after Game 3. They won some close games, they kept winning, and they got a little bit of momentum in behind them. And these teams were so close, they knew each other so well, playing each other so much in the regular season, so close geographically to one another. It's very hard to put your finger on what exactly turned it around, per se, to make a race a 3-0 deficit, other than to say that their best players were their best players. They had Alessio Luciani, Braden O'Bannon, these two guys who were both in the conversation for individual MVP, but continued their play in the playoffs. And so when you have a consistent duo like that, starting to score some goals, the other side, Newmarket, didn't have a response to that, and they were able to just hang on and then build that momentum and get the big wins in the end.
Well, one of the things that was interesting was, and I mentioned this on the highlights too, all year long Markham was all offense, right? And and they actually managed to really batten down the hatches against Newmarket and become much more defensively responsible in that series. And that was definitely a huge part of it. In the West Division final, the Buffalo Junior Sabres, they briefly made it interesting, we could say, against the top-ranked Oakville Blades, managing to even the series up at 1 game apiece, but then the Blades just ran the table from that point on, taking 3 straight.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say on this one either. I'd say Oakville, this was kind of the way I think people expected this series to go. Oakville had Buffalo's number in the season, despite Buffalo being there in the West at the number 2 spot. But yeah, able to come through after an early tie in the series. Should be no problem really here for Oakville, and they were able to pull it off in a pretty quick fashion, which they're going to need to do as they got that later on here in the playoffs. This is going to be helpful to them that they had to play fewer games here early on, just the way things are shaping up around the league.
Yeah, so no surprise to you in that series that Oakville managed to take it in 5 games. I think a lot of us thought we thought Buffalo might take 1, but Oakville was pretty good for the rest. So you agree with that? You're not surprised too much?
No, it's exactly the same that I was expecting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to move to the Southeast, and another fantastic comeback, and Alex and I were just having a little chuckle before we actually went on air about these Wellington Dukes and what exactly it is about these guys. They were against the Whitby Fury, down 3-1 in the series, but showing once again why they are the defending Buckland Cup champions, as they reeled off 3 straight wins to take it in 7 games.
Yeah, nothing's really changed personnel-wise for the Wellington Dukes since, December, when they were flirting for a second, like they might have to really hold off Kingston to, stay alive in the playoff race, let alone coming out of the East Division, which they end up doing through those first 2 rounds of the playoffs. But in the playoffs, something about some winning experience with this group. And then you see the emergence of Andrew Rinaldi and Tyson Gilmore as, they're ahead of the duo I mentioned earlier for the Markham Royals. That wasn't the case in the regular season. Here in the playoffs, they've been putting up some serious numbers together. You have Elijah Gonzalez on that line too, but those 2 in particular are really stepping it up a notch. And Logan Bateman emerging as a really reliable goaltender down the stretch. And then you even have this very quiet Quinn Hanna, who's got the OHL experience with Peterborough, and it took a little bit while for him to get his groove within the OJHL, playing 30 games this year, but he figured it out in the playoffs. What a big person he was in that second round series for Wellington, especially in Game 7 from the back end for the Dukes to pick up that victory.
Same question then that I was going to ask you about Markham for you. Was there anything that you saw from that series for Wellington that really turned things around when they were down 3-1?
Yeah, Wellington, and nothing jumps out. It's very bizarre actually when you look at Wellington's stats. Their power play's been horrible in the playoffs. Some of these things, like they haven't been able to turn that around at any point in that Whitby series. Again, just some clutch goals. Just like we've seen early on in the series here in the conference final, it's the same thing where they're able to pull out these clutch goals and pick up late game victories, that they're able to force overtime, and they're coming through to pick up these 1-goal victories, which are huge in the playoffs. Even strength team that can really grind it out, and I think they're building off a lot of that solid support base they have too there in Wellington. Yeah,
heart of a champion, like we said. We've got just under 1:30 left, Alex, in this segment. Let's talk about North York. The Rangers make short work of the St. Mike's Buzzers. I thought, same as the Buffalo series, but Buffalo actually did it. I thought the Double Blue would at least grab 1 game but the Rangers just absolutely overpower them on the way to the 4-game sweep.
Yeah, I wasn't as sure as you were. I think of that one. I think St. Mike's really gassed after that opening round series. They put it all on the line there, and I think they were a little
intimidated. That was a pretty epic series against the Pats, so yeah, it was draining.
There were a lot of big win for them in that series, absolutely. They really had to fight for that one to come out of it, and then to come up against North York, and that I think that was a series won in game 1. Those happen sometimes. You feel just the power of that team you're coming up against, who had a bit of an easier go of it in the first round, and then also just are a little bit step ahead of you talent-wise, and that's a tough uphill climb, and never really got over that mentally as North York was able to breeze on by.
Yeah, and really quick, we got 30 seconds, but just a quick mention, of course, Joey Maziarz, who just won the OJHL Defenseman of the Year award, leading the team in scoring right now in the playoffs, which you always love to see. I mean, a D-man when he does that. Of course, Garrett Pike for Oakville has been so great too. Joey Maziarz, just what an offensive dynamo for a man who plays on the blue line. We got to take a break. We got 10 seconds left here. So we're going to come back in the next segment and talk about the conference finals. More OJ today. Coming back in just a moment. This segment of the OJ Today is brought to you by Troy Hockey Apparel. Troy, the official jersey of the OJHL. Hey everybody, welcome back to the OJ Today, and Alex Bloomfield continues to join me via Skype, and we're going to move to the third round. The Final Four. Alex, I want to get your thoughts now and predictions. We should mention to everyone the difficulty of this, because we filmed this show early in the week, so by the time this airs, several games will have already gone down, so no pressure on you, Alex, at all, of course. But let's start with the matchup in the Southeast. Wellington taking on North York, and the Rangers, of course, finished as the 6th-ranked team in all of Canada, but the Dukes are the defending OJHL champs. First, give us your keys for a North York victory. Yeah,
North York, I think they can't be intimidated by Wellington on the road, and so that's a tough thing. When the North York, they aren't a team that's accustomed to heading out east too much to play some games this year. They haven't seen these teams as nearly as much as other teams have in the league, and the Wellington Dukes, it's a whole other environment, especially in the playoffs, a really confident team. So they can go out there and steal a game or two early in Wellington. This will put this one to bed early, but with North York, honestly, on paper, they're the better team, but it's defense. It starts from the back end for them. It's been the back end all year long. Jed Alexander, then out to the defense with Garrett Pike, with Joey Maziarz and the gang for North York that have been so solid back there all year long. A forward group that don't really have people that stand out to you. They're a group that's a concise unit all the way up and down. It really does start from the back end, though. They got to be just as solid as they were all season long back there if they're going to knock off the Wellington Dukes in this series final.
Well, how about the Dukes then? Fresh off that dramatic series comeback victory against Whitby where they were down 3-1. What's going to be essential for Wellington in this series?
It'll be helpful if they stay out of the penalty box, and that's part of it. They are leading the playoffs again in that category, but somehow it's not affecting. They're doing pretty well special teams wise. Penalty kill anyway. At least the 4 shorthanded goals in those opening 2 rounds. That's not easy to do in the playoffs either. But again, it's that top line. If that top line ticks over at this rate it is right now, where they have 1-2 in all playoff scoring, that's going to be helpful to beat anybody. It doesn't matter who you come up against in the first round of the playoffs. And the back end again with Logan Bateman. You look at who's left goaltending wise. This is kind of a stepping back statement, but you have Wellington goaltender with Logan Bateman. You have Andrew Albano in Markham and Jet Alexander in Oakville. These 3 guys had a great opening 2 rounds. Save percentage wise is a key stat I look at when I'm looking at how the goaltenders are faring of late. They're 3 of the top 5, I believe, right now left in, and that's going to be a huge advantage for them down the stretch. For both these teams, whoever's goalie gets hot at the right time. Right. Right now the Wellington Dukes,
and
hard to bet against them.
Okay, I was going to say really quick, your pick.
Yeah. So initially, and again, the way you led into this, I would pick the North York Rangers. I do think they'll be able to survive eventually in the series. They get 6, the Wellington Dukes. What we've seen in the very early going of this series,
they've been good.
Yeah, look out.
Okay. All right. So, we'll let you waffle on that one then. Okay, but let's move to the Northwest. The juggernaut Oakville Blades recently heavily favored and not a shock against the Markham Royals as the top-ranked team in the OJ this season. But Markham, that heart of a lion, they showed in that tremendous comeback against Newmarket. What do you see as the keys to Oakville, first of all? We've got just over 2 minutes here, so yeah, what do you think for Oakville?
Oakville's got to be who they are. they are the most powerful team in the league by far. I think looking up and down the roster, you really have no holes in it. And yeah, so with these two, with Will Barber settling in on the back end, goaltending wise for Oakville, this is a team that can overpower the Markham Royals. However, Markham is really hot, so that's the advantage. It's rust versus rest. I think that's what Coach Mike Tarantino said at one point in an article or just before this series, looking into how Markham coming off a Game 7 comeback. That's going to be a tough Game 1, Game 2. If they let Markham get in this early, that's their opportunity for the Markham Royals. So Oakville's got to come out, win Game 1, or be ahead early in this series if they want to just roll over them. Otherwise, we could be in for a long one here again. Despite the disparity, I think in the overall depth of these teams, the Markham Royals they're on a roll.
Well, let's talk about Markham. I think they surprised a lot of people with that resilience they showed against Newmarket. A comeback that is definitely going to go down in OJ history as one of the best the league has ever seen after being down 3-0. Give me the keys for Markham to take down Oakville.
It's Andrew Albano. It's got to be Andrew Albano. He played really well down the stretch of that Newmarket series, and he had an up and down part of the regular season. Started to get into a groove towards the end, and then in the playoffs he's been lights out. So I think he's the number one in the back end for Markham, absolutely, in the goal. And up front you got the usual tandem, but perhaps some secondary scoring. It's just Oakville is a team that can shut you down forward wise. But if Luciani and Oban can get a little bit of help up front, that would be pretty essential for the Markham Royals, I think, if they're going to slide by.
Luciani and Oban, of course, the two leading scorers in the OJHL for scoring this season. Genta stepping up and getting some nice points as well. He's been a good supplementary scorer as well. Okay, I'm not going to let you waffle on this one. Give me a firm pick. Who you think? It's a tough prediction, as I said, because more games are going to go throughout the week before this actually airs. But real quick, you got 15 seconds. Oakville or Markham, who would you take?
Yeah, I'll stick with the Oakville Blades. Oakville, North York seems like the matchup that was inevitable, but boy, they're making it tough on us, aren't they, here down the stretch? I will stick with Oakville, though. I think they will eventually roll off a couple in a row here and get out of this series.
Good stuff. Alex, thanks so much for joining me, my friend.
All right, thank you.
And we are all out of time for today, but just remember to keep up to date with the league all throughout the playoffs. You can always head to ojhl.ca, and of course, all of your social media options are there for you to check out as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.